we will have saved it by eating it. You know, it's good for Dartmoor and it's good for you, the pony meat. I was born amongst ponies and horses. My mother had a Dartmoor Hill pony, which is the first pony I ever rode, because she had had that since she was a child, and it was 33 years old, and I've always had ponies. They've always been a part of my life, so yeah, they're amazing, really. And I watch what they do for everything and everyone around them, and you just think they're too precious to lose. We have about 900 ponies left on Dartmoor. I would like to say 1,000, but I think it's less than that. We're disincentivised from keeping ponies on the commons. We're only allowed a set number, and so each year you have to take off some ponies, and that means you have to find a place for those ponies to go. Otherwise, they shoot them. They're gone for good. Dartmoor Conservation Meat is a company which we set up in order to ensure that the ponies were recognised in the next submission for agricultural funding as agricultural animals, because that's what they are on Dartmoor. And the one way to prove an animal is agricultural is that you eat it. And so we had to find a way we could introduce them into the food market. And that's what Dartmoor Conservation Meat has done. It's, you know, created a label and a marketing strategy and a way of taking the ponies from the pony keepers and paying them and getting the ponies to the slaughter and then getting the sausages back and the burgers and all the different things back in order for people to buy. I mean, I have one old lady who comes to the market and she buys 3 packets of sausages and she says, I can't have a pony, but I can support you by buying sausages. So people, when they start to understand the value of what we're trying to do, then they get it and they start to carry it forward. What has occurred is that the ponies are taken off the moors as foals, and lots of people don't know what to do with a wild foal. But if we can encourage the pony keepers to keep them on till they're 3 years old, I can home most of those. And then if they really are going to be too wild to home, then there's another market for them. And if you can underpin that market with the meat, you know, the pony keepers are prepared to keep them. If they know they're going to get a price for that pony, whether we home it or whether it goes into sausages, that means that pony can have 3 years on the moor and not be shot as a foal. I've got to stop shooting them as foals. It's got to change that whole management structure and create something that will take its place.
When we first arrived here, most of the animals were fed on beef. And during that time, I became aware of the fact that there was an explosion of Dartmoor ponies on the moor, apparently due to the fact that the trade in the Italian leather that they were sent to was made illegal because of the live transport issue, which was very cruel. But that meant that there was suddenly no market, and the herd just gets bigger and bigger. And the farmers weren't really used to this. And certainly in our first few years, there was a lot of, there were some large culls. Not every year, but every now and again, there'd be a big cull which would take out quite a lot of almost randomly selected animals, which is not good for the herd, not good for the quality of the herd, and not good for the ecology of Dartmoor. The DCM project is motivated in a deep love for the pony. And it's a thing that as a sort of bivalve vegan, which I am now, I'm less inclined to eat large animals that can look you in the eye. You know, I've always had a worry about that. But it is a way of getting omnivorous apes to respect that animal. This is part of our food chain, and you have to care for it until it's time for it to, you know, be consumed. And it's a complicated argument. People don't like complicated arguments. People like to say, this is good, that's bad, and these are my enemies, and now I can be energized to fight my enemies. And it's a lot more subtle and complicated than that. But they came up with this idea of harvesting maybe 10 to 15% of the herd, the meat's processed, and it goes to feed our carnivores. And we have a range. We have quite a lot of big cats. We have bears and wolves. So quite a lot of big carnivores that really, do need meat. And we noticed immediately when they switched to almost exclusively Dartmoor pony, the health of the lions and the tigers improved dramatically, because those sorts of animals, although cows are basically buffaloes, it's a dense protein. You wouldn't actually take on a buffalo very often unless you absolutely had to. A buffalo can kill a lion. They'd rather catch a zebra, which is what the Dartmoor pony is more related to. So that protein actually helps these animals really well. And by taking a carefully managed small percentage every year, I understand it keeps the herd and the ecology of them all healthy as well. And we found that other zoos have looked at the health of our animals and started asking for the same meat. And there's enough to go round for Bristol Wild Place, Newquay Zoo, Combe Martin Zoo, and one or two other places. So that herd of 1,000 ponies out there is managed by about 3 packs of wolves, probably 10 lions, some bears, and a few other carnivores, which is exactly what would happen in the wild if they were loose in, Yellowstone, and there were the predators, picking at them to keep the sick ones out of the breeding cycle. Then that's about the ratio of carnivore to prey animal, and I think it's a brilliant system. As far as I can see, it's a win-win in every direction. I understand that there's an emotional response to people eating horse meat. And we had a direct experience of that quite recently, where we had the tug of war with the animals here. It was a really positive thing, which unfortunately triggered a huge backlash on social media, with people mainly based in a long way away in cities, saying it was cruel and that we were taunting the animal and that the animals didn't get fed unless they won, and it was stressful and cruel. But the amount of noise that was created on social media and the amount of hate, I got death threats. Several of our people here got death threats. And the vitriolic language was so caustic. You could see a lot of the staff were quite upset by it. And it was like, should we carry on with this? And I was absolutely adamant. Yes, we should carry on with this because it's good for the animal. There is no way I'm stopping doing something that's good for animals just because some people don't understand that. People have an aversion to it because it's unusual in this country, and I just don't care about that. There's nothing, if it's unusual, it just means that we, haven't got used to it yet.
A year and a half ago, we decided to have a today's special Dartmoor Ponies burgers, and we had that for 2 weeks, and then we stopped. The reasons were just social media. Our customers, they weren't very happy with our today's special. I'm from Romania. I came 7 years ago here. To be honest, I haven't heard about burgers, meat burgers from ponies in this country before. So that was the first time when I was actually engaging with it and doing it myself as being a manager of a restaurant. But in Romania, horse meat is as normal as a pig meat. So it was, for me, when I heard about it, I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. I totally think they have a very good intention about it, because I think these animals, they will die. Selling that meat, it means they're gonna have a little bit more money for any other animals to help them. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I really don't think so.
If it works as a long-term end thing, I think it's fine. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And I think probably most of the opposition is just initial squeamishness of like, oh, we don't normally do that. Well, some people do, and in other cultures it's different. And I think, as far as I can see, that for human consumption, it doesn't upset me, but I can see why it would upset people.
I really wish I'd done it sooner, because I think we've probably been in a lot better place now with the ponies. At the moment, from October onwards, I am homing ponies all winter, and will home up to 400 ponies in the year. And those that I don't, I train, I find some of them to go, and we'll get something back that I think we've lost. If we don't need the Dartmoor conservation meat thing anymore, we won't do it. But it has to be there in order to recognise them as an agricultural animal. I think people sit on their chairs in their rooms and they write terrible, terrible things on the internet, which, without any level of understanding or caring, do something about it. Make a difference. If you don't want us to eat them, then help me sort it out then, is what I'm saying. I mean, that's the bottom line, isn't it? And I think actually, the one thing I've realised out of all this is that if you look at the charities for horses and ponies, we're really cruel to horses and ponies. There's so many charities rescuing horses and ponies, and there's no charities having to go out and rescue cattle and sheep. I think that speaks for itself, doesn't it? What do we do wrong with our horses and ponies? How do we treat them badly enough that we have to spend millions of pounds a year rescuing them, whereas we don't have to cattle and sheep? And alongside that, I think also you've got to look at it from a point of view, is we try so hard to find something that roams free, hasn't had any drugs, is high in protein, low in fat, high in omega-3, has had a good life, allowed to eat what it wants, do what it wants. Most of our stock in fields are fed, corn-fed, and they're not allowed to do anything, they're moved around. These things have a wonderful life. I mean, what more could you ask? If you're looking for something that's actually, if you want to eat ethically, that's probably heading right down that road, isn't it? Between them, they have worked out, or they've made it possible. Nature's balance has made it work. For Dartmoor, really. If you want to make a difference, then sometimes you have to put your head above the parapet, and that's the bottom of it, isn't it? You've got to, if you want to make a difference to something, you've got to get on and do it.